Joining us now, Elaine Parker, president of the Job Creators Network Foundation. Elaine, thanks for joining us. Okay, the Supreme Court took up your organization's case against Biden's student loan bailout as unconstitutional and unfair. You were at the Supreme Court hearing today. Can you talk to us about how Justice Amy Coney Barrett is questioning whether your side has standing to bring your case?
Well, sure. That's actually one of the two questions that was before the court today. The first is whether or not we have standing or the right to sue, and the second is whether or not the president has the authority under the HEROES Act to create a $400 billion student forgiveness program. And we feel really strongly about our arguments. Our plaintiffs in Texas and were denied their right under the Administrative Procedures Act through notice and comment to participate in the development of this rule that the Secretary of Education made. They basically went into a back room and created a rule arbitrarily and decided who was in and who was out, and some people got some and some people got none, and that's not how our regulatory system works. The American people deserve to have and have a right to have their voices heard by unelected bureaucrats that are creating rules that impacts every person in the country.
Yeah, so, you know, the president can just cite any wish list group of voters that are, back him and say he's going to give them money. I mean, Nancy Pelosi said what the president is doing is not constitutional. He doesn't have the constitutional power to wipe out this debt. You're going to see that, and then you're going to see far left Democrats saying attacking the Supreme Court, claiming it's unhinged. The fact that they ignore that taxpayers that have to pay for Biden's bailout, they're ignoring college tuition gouging, they're ignoring how universities do fat cat overcharging via college tuition. Far left not talking about any of that today. Watch this.
He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
I am fired up to tell the United States Supreme Court to follow the law and get out of the way so we can cancel this debt.
So let me ask you, and I need to hear your response. Are the profits of a student loan servicer more important than the people's lives? No. Is state tax revenue, which is what they're claiming, is it more important than people staying housed and fed? No. Should a far-right Supreme Court stop over 40 million borrowers from receiving student debt relief? No.
This is absurd that it's gotten to the Supreme Court. I'm sorry. Why aren't the squad, why isn't it Elizabeth Warren, why aren't they going after college tuition gouging? Colleges pay no taxes. They have no accountability. There should be a racketeering antitrust suit against colleges for fat cat college tuition gouging. Where's the far left squad outrage over that, Elaine?
That's right, and people are angry at the wrong group of people if they're angry at us for stopping this lawsuit. This was an illegal process. It's about a process, and if Senator Warren cared about any of these students and the debts that they're carrying, that they're being buried under, she would look for a long-term solution, which means bringing the heads of these colleges and universities in and sitting them down and asking them what they're going to do about the crisis that they have caused.
To your point, I interviewed Senator Warren back in the day when she was an academic. She was big on bankruptcy. She didn't like consumer debt and bankruptcy. She felt bad for people. She understood that universities were overcharging. This is totally off the wall, the far left's position. Now, if Biden succeeds in winning, what precedent would it set up at the separation of powers and Congress's power of the purse?
Well, if this loan program is allowed to go through, it will not only give this president, but every future administration and president a blank check. And it will also signal to colleges and universities that they can continue price gouging and increasing tuition every single year far past the rate of inflation on these students. And they will continue to bear the burden because these 40 million people will get some relief. But what about the next 40 million people and the next 40 million people after that? Right. Because as usual, they haven't solved the problem.
That's to your point. What about the plumbers, electricians, blue-collar workers, the working class, middle-class Americans who did not go to college, who do not have, did not take on that debt? What about the people who paid off their debt? It's so unfair. And Elaine, the thing is, when you look under the hood of the White House case, you see how ludicrous it is. Let's go through it. He uses the HEROES Act. It's meant for relief for soldiers or a national emergency, like the pandemic. But Biden already said last fall the pandemic is over. Officially, it's over in May. But now they claim that has nothing to do with the case to do the bailout anyway?
Yeah, this is just a power grab by the administration and an attempt to essentially buy votes. I mean, he wanted to use the HEROES Act so that he could announce the program just before the election,
right,
and not have to go through notice and comment. This is an illegal process, and if they really wanted to solve the problems, they would take a different tack.
That's right.
And they're not
that's
doing
it.
that.
That's it. Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren, the squad, if you were truly courageous, you would go after your own base, academia. You would say universities and colleges, cut it out. You are harming and damaging American families with your racketeering and in tuition price gouging. You are saying nothing about that. That shows how wrong you are and off the wall you are. This irony, too, Biden argues extending COVID emergency policies to do his bailout, but then he wants to end those same emergency policies for Title 42 at the border, for, vaccines and more. So if this was an emergency, to your point, why wait 3 years to do this? It is about getting the student voter out for the midterms, right?
Absolutely. And in this case, the process is wrong. It's illegal. And if they're doing it because they believe that the ends justify the means, and if that's our new standard, then I think that and it's applied to every future issue like this, then I think we will definitely go into anarchy if that's how the new standard is going to be.
Got it. Elaine Parker, hey, thanks for joining us tonight.